You wake up in the middle of the night. Your room is quiet. The house is still. You try to roll over, but you can't move. Your chest feels heavy, like someone is pressing down on it. Your eyes are the only things that obey you. There, in the doorway, something is standing. Not a person. Not exactly. A human shaped darkness, darker than the room itself. No face, no features, just a tall, solid shadow watching you. You try to scream, but nothing comes out. And then, just as suddenly as it appears, it is gone. Tonight, we step into the land of the Shadow People. Welcome to the land of the Shadow People, the podcast that steps into the dark corners of our homes, our dreams, and our minds, and asks what might be waiting there, just out of sight. I'm your host, Eric, and tonight we'll be talking about the phenomenon that has haunted people across cultures and generations. Shadow people. And with your personal encounters, they'll go along with them. Maybe you've seen them. Dark silhouette in the doorway, figure at the foot of your bed, a shape that disappears in a moment. You really look at it. Are they spirits, demons, visitors from somewhere else, or the tricks of a tired brain? Tonight, we'll explore what shadow people are said to be, common patterns in these encounters, and we'll dive into a couple of stories from people who believe they have come face to face with living shadows. Let us start with the basic question. What do people mean when they see or say shadow people? Shadow people are usually described as dark human-shaped figures, often seen in the peripheral of your vision. Sometimes flat, like a shadow on a wall, other times solid and three-dimensional. Usually silent, but not always still. Some people report hats, such as the famous Hat Man, who wears a wide-brimmed hat or a fedora, or even sometimes a hood. Others see glowing eyes, red, yellow, or intense darkness where eyes should be. Often these encounters happen late at night, in bedrooms, hallways, on the edge of force, or just outside of the light. They often appear when the witness is waking up or just about to fall asleep, during periods of stress, illness, or emotional upheaval. Scientists often call these sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, or tricks of the light and shadow. But for experiencers, it feels like something else, something intelligent, something's watching. If you've been listening to this, you might know this feeling already, the sense that you are not alone or even in an empty room. People who have encountered shadow figures do not see anything. They often feel something, a sudden drop in temperature, heaviness in the air, a wave of dread or panic, a certainty that someone's there, pressures on the chest. Some describe these entities as neutral observers, more curious than threatening. Others say the presence feels deeply wrong, predatory, even evil. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, these experiences leave marks. Many people can tell you the exact date, time, and place they first saw a shadow person, even if it happened years ago. And tonight we're going to step into some of those memories. A friend of mine emailed her experience, we'll call her Sarah, who had an encounter in her apartment on a cold winter night. She writes that she was in bed and she couldn't sleep. She noticed it was around 3 a.m., also known as the witching hour. She remembers this because she checked her phone and was upset that she couldn't sleep. The room was dark, except for a low light coming from the street lamp outside her window. When she first realized something was off, she had a sudden feeling that someone was in the room with her. Not like a burglar, just a presence. Her heart started to race, looking towards the bedroom door, and that's where she saw it. I asked her to describe what she saw, and she said it was a dark, tall figure standing in the doorway, with no feature, no face, just black, like a cutout of a person. But it was darker than the room itself, like it absorbed light around it. I asked her if it moved. She said it was completely still, but it felt like it was staring at me. She couldn't move. She wanted to scream and turn on the light, but her body wouldn't respond. It just lay there, frozen, watching it. She said it felt like forever, but it was only about 30 seconds, maybe a minute at the most. And then it stepped back. It didn't fade, it just moved out of the doorway, and the feeling in the room lifted. And then when she could finally move, she jumped out, turned on every light she could reach, and there was nothing there. I asked her if it was a dream, and she said no, she was pretty sure she was wide awake. She could remember the cold of the floor under her feet, the sound of the lamp chain when she pulled it. She said she's had nightmares before, and this was definitely not it. I've asked her if this experience changed her, and she says she sleeps with the lights on now. She doesn't like open doors at night, and always closes her bedroom door, and prays she doesn't wake up at 3 a.m. For some, encounters like this are one-time events. For others, it's a repeat visit. I'll share my personal story. I had an encounter with a shadow person when I was young. I would say roughly 8 or 9 years old. And I remember waking up one night. I couldn't tell you what time it was. I didn't have an alarm clock at the time. But there, standing at the edge of my bed, kind of off to my right, was this tall, dark, shadowy figure. I could tell it was very muscular. And it had a hood, or in a cape, or a cowl, maybe that would be a better description. And of course, being so young, I was terrified. And at first I did have sleep paralysis. I couldn't move, I tried to scream, and absolutely nothing. Finally, I could move, and I was able to throw the covers over my head, but the figure did not go away. In fact, seeing through my sheets, I could see the shadow move closer as it put its face where it knew where my face was. And I can almost hear, like breathing, heavy, almost as someone who had a hard workout was breathing heavy, but with something menacing behind it. Eventually it disappeared. I spent time praying and singing Sunday school songs that I could remember at the time. And this was actually a frequent occurrence growing up until I hit my teenage years. This being would sometimes come out of my closet, would stand in the doorway, could feel it following me in the hallways. What it was, I don't know. But it terrified me for the longest time. And it made me extremely jumpy at night. I would never fall asleep with the light off. I'd always keep it on. Of course, my parents would turn off the lights somewhere during the night when they went to bed. Thankfully, when we finally moved out of the house when I was 16 years old, I never had another experience with a shadow person in my home. But I did have one other experience with a shadow person not that long ago. About 5-6 years ago, I was working a second job at our local church, doing some janitorial work. When I had noticed when I was cleaning, I could hear what sounded like a crowd outside. and I looked out in the hallway and could see nothing. The church at the time was empty. I had a school, and I was having to clean some of the classrooms at the time. Well, it came time to clean the bathroom. When I was cleaning the sinks, and I had one sink turn on the opposite side from where I was cleaning, and I'm like, what the heck? So I go turn it off, and as I turn, I see this small, staticky shadow go running across the bathroom and shoot right into the wall and disappear. And this actually happened a couple of times during my time there. The strangest one was when I was vacuuming the hallway. I saw a very large, staticky shadow person standing at the edge of it. And this time, I was just fed up. I'm just like, I'm done with you. I don't care about you. I got a job to do. And after that, the experiences quit happening. And that is my personal encounters with the shadow people. Although very less dramatic at the time, I can tell you, the fear, the heart racing, even as a kid or even as an adult. And maybe in the future I'll tell some more of my other experiences that I had at that church, which was really, really weird. So when it comes to shadow people, what are we dealing here with? There are a few main ideas that people turn to. Psychological and neurological explanations such as sleep paralysis, stress, anxiety, and certain brain states that can cause vivid, terrifying hallucinations. The brain notices shadows, shapes, and movements that aren't really there, at least not in the way that we perceive them. Paranormal theories, some believe, people are ghosts, or shadow people are ghosts that are not fully formed. Interdimensional beings slipping in and out of our reality, or entities that feed on fear. Cultural and spiritual views. In different cultures, shadow figures appear in folklore as omens, watchers, or manifestations of negative energy. Name changes, but the shapes are eerily similar. We're all wired to see faces and figures in darkness. Or is there something that knows exactly where we are weakest, half asleep, alone in the quiet hours of the night? I honestly can't answer that for you, but I can say this. The fear in the voices of people who experience these encounters are very, very real. The memories are real, and the sleepless nights that follow are real. If you're listening right now, you've seen them. Figures in the doorway, the watcher in the corner, the presence at the foot of your bed. I really truly want to hear your stories. You can send your encounters to my email, landoftheshadowpeoplepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know where you were, what you saw, how it made you feel, and whatever, and if ever, it happened again. Your story might be featured in a future episode of Land of the Shadow People. Until then, keep your doors closed, your lights handy, and if you wake up tonight with a sense that someone else is standing there in the dark, don't be so quick to tell yourself that it's nothing. Sometimes the shadows are just shadows, and sometimes they're watching back. You've been listening to the Land of the Shadow People. I am Eric, your host, and sleep well, if you can.